Hello, everyone. We are live yet again, and this is one of my authors' chats of the week. And it's actually my second one this week, since you may or may not have seen me yesterday. So a double week, busy week, but it's always a lot of fun for that. And I realized, because again, I'm terrible at this. Yesterday, I was so focused on talking about my co-host and everything that I totally forgot to mention I have new audiobooks this week, 2 actually. So did want to make that shout out before I forget again. And let me see if I connect with my co-host today. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? I can hear you, cannot see you yet. Haha.
Here I am.
Hello, you have made it.
I'm sorry, I've never been live before, so I don't know what I'm doing, but I got it figured out.
Hey, that's faster than some people, and as the person who's done this after a little while, it's still sometimes struggle when people ask me questions about, can I do this, or can I invert, and I'm like, I actually don't know. I'm terrible.
I did good to get here, you know?
Yep. And in case you've never listened to any of my lives, they're pretty conversational, and pretty much if anybody in the comments pops in something that's a little bit bookish related, I'll make note of that. If they ask a question, try to answer those. But outside of that, you're my co-host, and I'll let you kick off with what you write and who you are.
Awesome. So my book that I have out now is called Stormforged. It's an epic fantasy. It's set in a kind of medieval. It's clean, so no spice. I'm sorry for all of my spice lovers. But it's set 2 years after a king's failed experiment to become a god gifts random people with power in this kingdom. So when we see our FMC, it's 2 years later, and she's literally running. So you kind of figure out what's going on and why the king did what he did, along with the other gifted people that you meet during the book.
Ah, that's
and
really...
I have one here.
Yay! Okay, I was going to ask. I was going to say, since you look like you're in the car, I wasn't even sure you had it, but I always love when people are able to share their book covers.
Yes.
So, okay.
I actually, fun fact, just stole it from, we have a speakeasy where I live, and I had to come out, and I actually forgot to grab it, and I had to run in there. They have a library, and let me steal my book back for this.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, I'm glad you stole your own book.
I did.
So,
I was like, guys, I have to tell.
Sorry, what?
I was just saying, I just was like, guys, I have to steal this real quick. And they're like, are you bringing it back? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to bring it back. I
promise. But let me ask you, you said this is your debut fantasy, correct?
Yes. I have the second book comes out. It's going to be toward the end of July.
Ooh, very nice. And when did your first one publish?
It was January 30th of this year.
Wow. Okay. So for a young artist, author, you're able to publish multiple a year. So I give you a round of applause, because it took me years before I could figure out how to make that work. I love that.
My first one, it was, once I figured out KDP, it was far easier, I think.
Oh yeah. There's a big learning curve with, as a author of any kind, just to learn, especially if you're indie, since you have to kind of micromanage it all, but like all the platforms and which way you want to publish and how to use them, and everything's constantly changing. But once you kind of get through and jump through that hoop once, it gets easier each time, because it's more familiar, and you've done it before, and you kind of start mastering the whole craft of publishing.
Yeah. And I know I've definitely already made mistakes, but I know I'm going to continue to write. So I'm just going to keep going. And when I do figure out, oh, I should have done this, I'll do it for the next book. And that's just how I'm going to have to do it. You're never going to be perfect, I think, at any point. And it all keeps moving and changing.
Well, how's your experience now that you have your debut book and it's been out for the first half of this year? How do you feel about reaching readers, and how do you feel about your accomplishment of releasing a book? I know that's like multiple questions.
Just for me, when I started, I was like, if I can sell 20 copies, whatever, because I never wrote it to sell so much It was just that I was a reader for so long and I just wanted something on the shelf with my name on it that was mine. And then I learned that you have to market the book, and that was probably the hardest thing for me. So I did it mostly on TikTok. I started a YouTube channel. I've tried, there's some apps that just do not work for me, but I'm figuring out. That's probably the biggest challenge of the whole thing is marketing.
Oh, that definitely is true. And for the reader side, it's the hardest part is trying to find the right books. For the author, it's creating the book and then finding the right readers. And so it adds extra levels. But yeah, everybody's brain works differently. And so with all the different kind of places you could be as an author, certain ones, certain platforms work better with certain people than others. So I definitely like this book talk space too.
Yeah, and I've been mostly faceless. Like I haven't went live yet. I do need to, but
Oh, you
I've
have
so
to?
most authors already. Yeah, they have a day job, but it's so much easier to just get some stock photos and do something really fast at your desk. So right now I'm trying to fix that because I really do need to put more into it. But I had like it was just a random carousel that went viral, and my book sales were incredible. So if you can get it out to people and they
Oh
can
yeah.
see it, you'll sell it.
Oh
That
yeah.
keeps me
And
going.
that's the trick. And again, it goes back to you can look and see what's doing well for people and try to replicate it to the best of your ability with being true to what you write. But no,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just the luck of the draw or one person one day. So it is kind of hard to copycat success.
Yeah. I'm a reader too. I think most authors are. You probably
Mhm.
should be if you're writing books. But I also like just watch. I was on Book Talk already, so there were so many books that I saw on TikTok, and that's why I read them. So I just started thinking like, why did I like that maybe, or what drew me
Yeah.
to it? And I try to do that with mine now.
Well, what inspired you to write this particular book? Because inspiration, it comes from, a plethora of reasons and locations and
Yeah.
ideas and scenarios. So what inspired you to write your first book? And just, yeah.
In general, I think I just thought that it was always so far. There's no way I could do that.
Hmm.
There was no way I could even possibly, I didn't even know about self publishing at the time. I thought that you just had to go through an agent and then do all, I was like, there's no way, I'm way too busy. So I thought, well, I'm just going to write the book and I'll just have it. I started out in Word and I was like, I'll just have it in Word and it'll be the book. And then when I started researching it, I was like, oh shit, I could have like a cover and an actual book in my hand myself. So I think that motivated me more than anything just to finish it. I
I
just
love
wanted to
that.
hold it.
Hey, there is that where it's like once you get, if not all authors have physical copies, I understand, but for those that do, when you are able to hold your book in your hand, it's a totally different experience. It's like, wow, I knew it was real, but now it's real.
Yes. I was very emotional when I got to hold it for the first time, but then I have an audiobook that's out now too. But the first time I heard my audiobook, I cried like a little baby. Actually, it was horrible.
Oh, it was
It took me completely
horrible?
off guard.
Oh, yeah, okay, okay, gotcha, gotcha.
I didn't, yeah, I was like, oh my God. I was just sitting, thank God I was alone, because I would have looked crazy.
Hey, there's again, that's another one of those things. It's like when you hold a book the first time, when you've hit publish the first time, if you do convert it to an audiobook format, hearing it come alive and your characters' voices being, sounded out, that again, all different experiences for authors, and they're all amazing.
Yeah,
So with
that was
your
definitely cool.
yeah. So with your your first book, um, where did the idea for the storyline come from and the characters? Like, what inspired you to write this story in that way? Where did those characters and the scenario and plot come from?
I think I started with just the FMC. I was so sick of reading about teenagers, because I'm older, but I've been a reader for so long. Like, of course, I was in YA when I was younger, But I wanted someone that was not 17 or 19, that was the best assassin in the world. I wanted her to like come up out of the mud with it and have to work hard. And I also like the thought of just something happening to someone. You're not a chosen one or you don't have anything great. You just have to step up. And that's where I started with her. And then I knew I wanted some kind of elemental power and I didn't want any kind of animals. So it was really like slowly built over writing and then rewriting 4 million times before I actually got the plot of the book.
Yeah. And that's a key thing for anybody who's listening in on the writing side, that not all writers have to know exactly their story from the beginning. There are a lot of people who write it and figure it out as they go. There are some that do plan it down to like the very detail before they write it, which is pretty much writing the book before you're writing the book, and everything in between. So I'm one of those people who are in between, where I like a little bit of kind of structure and plotting, and some books or series need more than others, but then I like it to kind of breathe and become alive. And
I think I do outline sometimes, but then I'll be writing and I'll change I've forgot about it. And now I'm just writing something, and then I have to go back to the outline and change it. So, I don't think that will ever work for me, but I might try it, next time.
hey,
Instead of just sitting and starting to write.
yeah, that's true. I mean, and again, that's the whole thing, is there's editing, that's part of it, is you can go back and tweak things and adjust things. And, some people start with 20,000 words and build up to 120,000. Other people start with 200,000 and cut it down to 70. I mean, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I had no formal training in this, so I was just going with it. But I did so many revisions and rewrites, and then adding, taking away, and adding back, that it was insane. So one thing that really helped me though was someone, I cannot remember who, told me to use Speechify and just put your book in a Speechify and read it and listen to it while you're reading it, and that helped me so much.
Oh yeah,
Especially with like the lines and the words. Ugh.
And yeah, that's a good trick. I know even Word now has a way where you can have it read out what you've typed, and so it's one of those things, like if you hear it, or you're a person to read it aloud, you'll catch more things than you're reading it silently to yourself. It's weird how that works.
Yeah. I think our brain just fills it in, especially as the author. You know what's happening. You know how these people are thinking, but when it's being read to you, it's almost like someone else's story. So you can sit back and be like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's talk about whose story this is. Like, who are your main character and characters? And let me know a little bit about who they are, and at least how they're acting in the beginning of their story.
So the beginning is pretty crazy. We start out with our FMC. Her name is Rylexa. She has lightning powers, and she's running. She's being chased, and you kind of get a little bit of a backstory, like the soldiers are chasing her because she's gifted, and you're just not allowed to be that. That's basically all you know at first. And she runs into Torin, who is our MMC, and he's also gifted with some fire magic. And then they just set off in their first few chapters. They're just trying to live. And that survival is probably the main theme of Stormforged, is they're just trying to live most of the time. But in the probably mid-book, they get hooked up with some rebels that are just trying to fight back against everything that's going on. And then my little group is called the Silent Five. So I have 2 normies that are mirroring Kale. And they're just normal people, but they're looking around at everything that's going on, and they don't like that. And then I have one of my favorite characters. Her name is Alice. And I don't think she has a conscience at all, but she has poison powers. And I think she's a really unhinged, but I love to write her. Anytime I have a scene with her, it's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like, to challenge yourself to either write someone different or write some aspect of yourself that in public society maybe we have to suppress, or so this could be like maybe a dark sense of humor, or some kind of cynicism, or whatever. You're able to kind of express various aspects of yourself through your characters, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes, my boyfriend asked me once, like, who was my favorite or who was the most like me, and I'm like, they're all parts of me,
Yeah.
just in a different person. They're
Sweet.
all little snippets.
Well, let me ask you because I don't typically do this. There are a couple exceptions, but typically I don't look at a friend or a person I know and kind of create a character, based off them. Other people do, but have you ever like based aspects of characters or full-on characters from people out of your life outside of yourself?
A little bit. So I had requests from some family members. They wanted to be in the book. And I'm like, I won't write this, but I will name the characters after you. So I have done that. My oldest son, he has someone named for him, a character that he really liked. And then my sister. So I just like sprinkle them in there. But as far as writing them for their personality, I didn't. But they get named in there, so they're happy.
I like that. Well, here's the thing, like if your story makes sense where you can have, any kind of name fit in and still make sense, that's fantastic. And that allows you that if you build your readership up, you could always be like, I'm going to do a raffle or I'm going to do this kind of thing. And the winner, gets to name a character or the top, who knows, and it's a fun thing. I know readers get a kick out of.
That's something I would definitely do because coming up with names is hard.
There you
It
go.
is so hard.
You can
Uh,
poll people and be like, the winner. Submit your
you can be the MMC.
There you go. Make your suggestions, and one may end up being in there. I have a number of author friends who do stuff like that, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, the way I write, all my worlds and all my characters and entities have certain ways their names have to sound, so I just can't have Bob McBobface. I have to kind of keep with the trend of my other worlds. But is your reality set on Earth, or is it just a totally different kingdom or world? And
It's definitely a different world, for sure. In mine, you don't find out in book one why, but our continent that we're on is completely closed off from the rest of the world. And no one really knows why, but at the time they're dealing with this whole thing, so they're just only now people started to try to get off of it.
yeah.
So now they're starting to ask a lot of questions. So it's
Ah.
definitely somewhere else.
Okay, that's intriguing. So for this next book, how far away or how far through the writing process are you for book two? Because you said you're trying to release it later on this year.
I'm about to start line edits.
Nice.
So I'm getting a book signing set up for the end of July, and so it has to be done at the end of this month. So I'm just going over and over and over until I literally have to upload it. I have to give myself a deadline. If I don't, the book's not coming out. It'll never be out.
That's fair. I'm definitely a goal-oriented person, but for many reasons that helps me with the writing business, and I can like micromanage. That's great. I love that. I can have my checklist, and I have an author bingo for goals that I try to accomplish and all that kind of stuff. But surprisingly, setting a deadline for a book stresses me out so much that I never do it. That doesn't mean I don't have an idea of my goal, but like saying, oh, I need to be done on January the 30th. I can't know. That's when my panic sets in.
My first book, funny enough, my boyfriend tried to surprise me, and he tried to do like a surprise book signing, but he had no idea, the book wasn't even done. And I had just been sitting on it and sitting on it. So I think it was like 3 months where I was like, okay, this has to be edited in 3 months, and I have to be at the signing with a book in my hand. So, but it was great because I know I'm a perfectionist, so I will go over it in edits 4 million times.
Oh, yeah.
So if I don't have that in time, like we're cut off, we're just doing the line edits now, we're not changing any other thing, I will just edit it for 14 years.
Well, that does make sense. I feel that because I know like you can have so many people have their eyes on the same work, trying to help edit and pick out, mistakes and all that stuff. And there's still something that's going to slide through. And then when it comes to storyline, the older you get, the more experiences you have in your life, it will change your writing to some extent or another, some maybe more dramatically than other people. But I know that the way I wrote my first book, because that was 10 years ago, versus the way I write now, if I went back and tried to write my first debut book over again, it would be very different because my writing style has just changed. So yeah, you could continue to write forever. The same thing, it will evolve. Yeah. So,
and I would. And I can already see, like, the second book, I've already learned so much with writing and, like, mistakes I made in the first one. So, yeah, I could definitely see it. You could write it for 15 years if you wanted to.
Well, actually, that's a good one. Have a good question. So, what is one thing you would recommend people not to do that, was a mistake you made that you're like, okay, don't do this? Because I feel like I've made 1,000 of those.
Oh my God, which one is probably the question. Yeah, I don't. I would say to not. I think, and especially talking to other authors, everyone freaks out with their first draft. Mm-hmm. And even myself, when I read my first draft, I'm like, to the person that wrote this, can they even read? This is terrible. And, and someone I saw a long time ago, they were like, the first draft is you telling yourself the story, and that is so important to know that you do not suck and you're not terrible, horrible writer when you read your first draft, because it's supposed to suck. And if you just get past that, you'll be okay.
Yeah, because, you don't want to write your first draft and hit publish. do not do that.
No.
Put the time in.
No.
Because, the more you learn about editing and the more you get comfortable with it, it gets easier just like anything. But, editing is part of the process. And you're going through that process again and again.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep the first draft of Stormforged. It's in a 3-ring binder in my bedroom, just to remind myself, like,
where it began.
You come a long way. Because that was so bad.
I kind of wish I did that now. Kept a original. I wonder. I have no idea if I still have, in any form or fashion, an earlier copy of my first book. That would be interesting because it probably would be Shudder-worthy. You want a horror story? Check out.
Yeah. I don't even think they're not even the same book. Really, it's not even the same thing. It's so bad. But I just like to look at it and be like, see, you can do it. If something good can come from that, then we're doing good.
What's something that you've learned that has worked for you then to counter and say, this is something that I, throughout this whole process, figured out and I'm going to go back and do it again?
Oh, Readsy. Oh my God, Readsy. I got on Readsy. So I did the whole first, I think, and second draft, I did on Word. So when I would need to go back to a chapter, I was having to scroll. This is a 92,000 word book. Mm-hmm. So just having, like, and you don't have to pick, just get some kind of tool like that is so much easier to write, because I would go back to a chapter or delete a whole chapter or move it somewhere else. And just having a tool instead of just using Word, which, of course, if I'm out or something and I have an idea, I'll write a scene in my notes, but I immediately go put it in there so that it's all in one place.
Nice. I will admit I'm still a Word person. You cannot take me away from my Word. But with that said, only through recent years have I figured out that one of those editing platforms, Pro Writing Aid, can embed into your Word. And so all their kind of editing help filters are just already there. You can click and say, hey, I want to do a grammar check. Hey, I want to see if there are 2 words that I used repeatedly in the same paragraph. And it has all these filters that help you kind of be like, da, 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 da. And I'm like, you know what? This is nice. I like this. It works for me.
It went so much faster for me when I started using Readsy, because I didn't use it toward the end of writing book 1, and it sped things up so much more quickly for me having that. I like the little boxes. I have to have it.
I love it. See, everybody works differently, so you have to find out what works for you. That means you have to test things out. But okay, let me go ask. Okay, for the second book, you're working through the line edits. Is this series going to be just two, a duology, or are you going to write more beyond book two? Do you know yet?
This is going to be a trilogy. And I've talked to some other people about that, and they're like, just write it until the story's done. But one of my pet peeves with reading is when something is 7 or 8 books and they could have done it in 4.
Fair. Okay.
Nothing makes me more angry than that. Yeah, so this is, I'm planning a duology after this, so I already know where this one's going. I'm about to start writing book 3, so we're done after 3.
Nice. Or is your, okay, so you already, I like the fact that you're already planning well ahead. So is your duology anything related to this first trilogy, or are they going to be totally different, things? Because I'm an author that all my book series and books are very different.
Yeah, completely different. I know a lot of people, and I have friends on here too, that they have like 4 or 5 different works in progress going. I cannot do that. I have to stick to my one thing, or it's not getting out on time. So if I'll like take this idea and it's completely different. And I also get tired of writing. I love my story, but I've wrote it over and over and over again so many times now. I'm ready to move on. And I'm sure after book 3, I'm going to be ready to do something else. And I can't, if I let it sit, I'll never come back to it. So I have to do one project at a time.
I am curious though. I mean, yes, I get that because you get kind of almost so sick of going through your edits of your book that I do know where I am now that by the time I'm publishing it, my brain's already in project, 2, 3, or 4
Yes.
well in advance. Like I'm gone. I'm like, but when I finish a complete series and have to say goodbye to that world and those characters, there is something there that's like, that makes me a little sad. And kind of have that pause and like mourn moment. So I wonder how you'll feel when you finish your trilogy and be like, yes, it's done, and just total celebration, or will you be like,
I'm already feeling it a little bit because I know, like, I'm writing the last book and this is going to be it. And I love it's my first books, I'm ready to go on, but it does hurt my heart a little bit to leave them behind. But maybe one day I'll write a novella or something.
Yeah.
If I start from this.
Yeah, you never have to. Well, it just depends on the book, I guess, if all the characters are around or not. But you don't have to necessarily say a hard goodbye. You could leave it open. There are a lot of people who years later will be like, I'm going back to that world. I'm going back to those characters. Write a novella, do a prequel series, do a spinoff, and be able to do what they want. I love those ideas, and I have ideas that I could do that with some of my series. But on the other hand, I'm always having so much fun developing a new world. I like world building and new characters and setting the new stage that I almost can't see myself going back at any point. I don't know.
No, I left a good spot open for myself because my book starts 2 years after this main event that's changed everything. So if I ever wanted to, I could, but I feel like I'm just gonna continue. I'll think of something while I'm writing something else, and I think I'll just continue for forever.
I like it. What's your favorite thing? Do you prefer world building, character development, the plotting? Like, is there some aspect of writing that you're like, this is like my jam?
I love the plot.
Okay.
The plot, especially if I come up with something weird in the middle, because that's how I do when I write. I'll just come up with something, and then I go back and sprinkle it. And that's my favorite thing, to see that all come together. That's what I like the most.
I like that. Has there ever been a situation that you wrote in your story that just made you either chuckle or laugh or do the evil laugh and be like, haha, and because you've never,
Every day. Every day.
Yeah. See, that it's the joy of writing.
I'll be like, oh, they're gonna hate me.
Perfect. Well, are you someone who, what time of day do you prefer to write? I'm a morning person in general, but are you an evening, night, morning, anytime you can person? Like, do you have an ideal time?
It is definitely, so I'm a SVU detective in my day job. So
Wow.
day job is very, yeah, that's a very bubble statement because I could be out really late. I could get called out. I never know. So literally any time that I have free, I just write when I can.
Hmm.
I also have
Does
three
your,
kids. So
I was gonna say, you have multiple hats you have to wear at all given times.
yeah.
Does your day job, have you ever kind of pulled some knowledge that you've gleaned from working your day job and figured out how to incorporate, in your story
Oh
or?
yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
especially in combat. And there's a lot of like trauma bonds
Yeah.
in my book between all these characters. And that's how the romance in my book is definitely a slow burn built on trauma
Mhm.
bonds. Because unfortunately, in my job, I worked patrol for a very long time. So
Mhm.
I know what it's like to fight side by side with people that you're very unlikely friends with. And you're
Yeah.
just put here because you both work here. And just
Mhm.
also the anxiety. If you have anxiety, you'll love my book because it pops up so much. And I don't name it, but if you have it, you'll see it and understand what it is in there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's always important to have a variety of representation because there's so many people who are reading and the plain Jane characters, yes, they may be entertaining for some people, but relatability wise, a lot of others, most of us, I think, like a little more grit or, real things embedded in characters because they are relatable. And so having, various types of trauma is one of those things that it'll allow readers to deeply connect with your characters who may have experienced something similar.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons I chose to write it. And everyone jokes with me that I should be writing thrillers
Mm-hmm.
because of what I do. But I can't leave the fantasy world just yet. Maybe when I retire, I'll start doing that.
Hey, I have seen, fantasy detectives, fantasy heists, fantasy, what, you could kind of keep it fantasy, just add a few magical elements and,
Do a crossover.
yeah, why not? Again, the world is your oyster when you are a fiction writer, so just make sure you stick with your
That's
rules.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you mentioned early on that you're talking about, well, you did talk about book signings for your debut launch, and you have one planned for book two. Do you do a lot of face-to-face events?
No, and I wish I did. Just honestly, my schedule really doesn't
Mm-hmm.
allow for it. And my
Yeah.
first book signing was my boyfriend trying to surprise me. I would have probably never have done that. And which did though get me into that bookstore, and it's in a very high volume place, so I sell out every month in that bookstore. So it was a very happy accident that he just happened to pick that one, and we went with it. So now I'll be doing every release there. But I am trying to branch out when I have more time for sure. But I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably wait closer to when the trilogy's done.
Well, I'm an extreme extrovert, and writing's a very introverted job. I know a lot of writers are
Yeah.
introverted, but when I'm able to do face-to-face events, I have so much fun. With that said, I definitely understand having that kind of scheduling conflict with, you know, your life beyond being a writer because there's so much that you can do. And
Yeah.
like you said, you have a day job. I never like saying your job because writing's a job too, but your day job and writing and your kids and your family. I mean, like that's just there's a lot that goes on. How do you figure out how to balance how everything?
Oh, I don't. I don't balance it at all. We're just I just wing it every day of my life. Really is all I can say for that. Just any spare moment to do anything, I'm just doing the best I can. And I'm a notes person. So
Hmm.
sometimes if I have a lot to do in a day, I will literally make a list because it takes it out of my brain and puts it on a piece of paper. And that just helps me stay organized.
Oh yeah. My planner is a terror to look at. And it's been this way my whole life. I'll fit every line and every nook and cranny with something, and it won't make sense to me. But if anybody else looks at it, it's just like words, just words everywhere. I'm like, so this is what I do here. This is what I need to do. This is just a side note. Just to remember to do this thing here. This is the important thing that I need. Yeah. Planning is
that is cool. I would have to. I would go crazy. I need an assistant, really. It would be just great for me in my whole life.
Wouldn't it be nice? I have, at one point in my author career, had a assistant for a little while who was helping me kind of set and kind of build up the kind of framework for a lot of my social platforms. But then I got to the point where I was like, okay, I've taught myself enough where I can do everything to the same level, and, wished her well. But there were different levels of planners and assistants, and be a publishing assistant or a virtual assistant, whatever they're qualified. And now I'm like, man, I'm getting to that point again where I'm like, I think I need someone to help me figure out how to balance this and this and this, and take some of that off my...
Forget writing the book. The social media alone is its own job. So you really got two separate, because you're your own publicist as well as the author trying to get everything out. And that was what I was not prepared for writing, because now every day I'm like, have I posted on TikTok today? Have I posted on YouTube? I don't know. I
love cross promotions. I love repurposing things all the time. So if I make something here, then I'll post it somewhere else, and vice versa, and do the whole little circuit with things. And I also love the ability that on Book Talk, this platform, you can kind of film in advance or set up posts in advance, because I'll batch them one day and then be like, oh, it's about that time, post. Tag bag ready to go, post.
I do the schedule. I love that feature. That's great for me.
It's the little things that you never knew you would need to know until you were an author. I didn't have any clue that I needed to know how to manage my own website. Well, now I have to. The things you learn.
No, why did I thought I was going to just get away for whatever reason. I was like, I don't need a website. I'll just do it without one. And I was stupid. So my boyfriend actually, thank God for him, did my whole website, because I was just like, I can't even do one other thing.
Mm-hmm. And
he's also a detective.
Intriguing. That's cool. But yeah, it's so nice when you're able to have someone else that will help you out enough to do something, be it making your website or helping you at an event or anything like that, because it's a lot to do all yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I would be lost without my boyfriend. He is my assistant, really, if we think about it hard.
Oh yeah.
I should probably pay him, but
Love and affection. Love and affection.
Yeah.
It's okay. My husband, when we go to events, he's known now in the book community as the proverbial book husband, because he'll come and he'll load in the books and help people out and run, to pick up food for people. I'm like, bless your heart. The sweet.
That's what mine does. God love him. And then he'll promote. He'll just be talking to people like, do you guys read? You should read this book. Aww. My girlfriend wrote it. You'll love it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So let me also ask you, actually, since the hour is going to start picking up speed, let me get a couple questions that I always want to make sure I ask before I forget. One of which is, where can people get your book, and in what formats is it available in, just to reiterate and rehash?
So I have paperback on Amazon, ebooks I'm wide, so anywhere ebooks are sold I'm in, and I also have an audiobook on Audible, Apple, and Spotify.
Nice. I love that. How is that did you narrate it yourself? Did you work with a narrator? How did you figure out how to do that whole audiobook process? Because that's a lot.
I wish I could. And I tell everyone, obviously you can hear my accent. Not great for audiobooks. So there was just no way to beat that out of me. So my narrator was on TikTok and she commented, "Let me narrate your book." And I had just got on ACX and was doing, I think I did like just a couple of auditions, and then I went to her TikTok and listened to her, and I was like, oh my God, she's perfect.
Nope.
So I messaged her, and shortly thereafter she was doing it, and it just came out at the end of last month.
That's exciting. Brand new audiobooks. I love that. Yeah, no, I had a audiobook release 2 days yesterday. Yesterday's Tuesday. Oh my goodness. Yesterday. So like I love those kind of things because audiobooks are able to reach a whole new group of readership because some people just prefer it. Some people only read if they're like driving or active, and so that makes sense. And other people have like sight impairment or other kind of things, and so audiobooks are like the only way, unless you get like Braille, which very few Braille books in the world, to be able to enjoy it. So hopefully you'll see a good experience and have a great experience with releasing your audiobook and expanding the new type of readership you could get.
I love it. I myself love audiobooks. I have an hour commute to work, and then we drive a lot at work, so I've always loved audiobooks. So I knew I wanted to get it out, and I was also, so many people are asking for it. There was some point I told my boyfriend, I was like, I gotta do it, because at this point we're just losing money from not doing it. Very happy with it though. I'm so glad I did.
Yay! I'm glad for you, because it took me years before I made the effort, because the whole figuring that out just stressed me out, and I was just like, I don't even know where to begin.
It was that too, and I heard from somewhere, and I don't know who I heard this from or why, I just took it as the truth, that it was like $2,000 to do an audiobook, which is simply just not the case. So I can't remember exactly how much I paid for mine, but it was like a month's worth of my sales. Yeah. Just to get the audiobook. So the book paid for its own audiobook.
Yeah, that's
great. That was great.
And that's the thing, is like there are so many different ways to produce audiobooks and connect with narrators, and very different price points, because I have some people who are very, very expensive I work with, and some people that have done split royalties where I don't have to pay a thing because we're splitting the royalty share kind of process. So I've done it all. So yes, that's the thing, is there is a way to do it, but just make sure you do your research, whatever contract, and are happy with the product you get in the end.
Yes, and I didn't know anything about, it's just really learning. This is such a learning experience. Hopefully in like 10 years when I'm still writing, I can just come on here and tell everybody everything they need to know. Not yet.
I've been here 10 years and I don't know everything there is to know. It's always changing. Every so often someone's like, wait, you don't know about this? I'm like, no, why didn't you tell me earlier?
We're just, every day is a new day. We're just going to figure it out.
Yep. You don't know what you don't know. So it's hard to kind of like figure all that out until you figure it out. It's that truth.
Yeah.
What is one thing you wished you knew at the beginning of your writing journey?
Ooh, Canva.
Oh yeah.
I did my own book cover.
Nice.
And that was probably the hardest learning curve that I had. That was so difficult because I'm not an artist in that sense. I mean, you can tell the cover is very plain. We did not do a lot because there was no way that I was going to be able to do all of that. And then I didn't know that there were people that just did book covers until I already had it and it was out. So, that's one of those you don't know until you know kind of things.
Well, here's the thing, is my first book, the one in the blue, that was not the original cover. And you can, if you decide at some point, you're like, you know what, I want to change it because maybe trends change or you're just feeling you want a new cover or whatever, you can do that. On the other hand, having that skill set that you can do that is fantastic. My other job is I'm an animal portraiture artist, but I don't do my own covers because my type of art would not work for this. And even though I'm comfortable with Canva, I'm like, I'm still not really comfortable with doing that.
Yeah.
I did like a couple of my special edition covers, but I'm like, yeah, I applaud anybody who can figure it out themselves.
That's what I'm like at book 2 now. I'm doing a cover that's similar because I want it to be like a progression. So I was in it the other day and I was like, this fire looks AI. And then you don't want to be accused of that ever. So that's a terrifying thing. So it's definitely, that's my most irritating thing, and I hate doing it about any of this is the book cover, which should be exciting, but it stresses me out.
Hey, there's going to be something that stresses everybody out in different things. And I can understand about book covers. Unfortunately, we always say don't judge a book by its cover, but we all judge books by it. It's so hard not to. So you want the cover to be amazing,
Yes.
So let me also ask you, one of my go-to questions is, outside book talk, where can people find and follow you? I think you mentioned something about, you mentioned a website, but like newsletter, other socials. Where else do you hub as an author?
So on my TikTok bio, there is my link to my website. So I do a lot from my mailing list through there. And then I'm also on Facebook because I'm old. And that's my biggest platform. And then of course TikTok, and I just started YouTube. I still haven't figured that out yet, but I'm on there.
My trick is repost all the little, once you start getting into like little videos on Book Talk, I repost them. That's what I repost them. That's what gets me followers. I do other things on there. Like, that's the whole thing, is if this platform's nice, sometimes it is. Well, a lot of times it is, sometimes it isn't. I'll try to repurpose our chat on my BookTube at a later date so people can come back and continue to find and follow you going forward. But like stuff like that, they're like little things that you don't have to make new content. You can just share what you've already made.
Yes. That's what I did, but that was my first few YouTube. I just did YouTube shorts, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but here they are.
I love it.
It's just a whole new platform.
Yep. That's the only downside, is everything's new and everything changes, and there'll be things that pop up and they become super popular, and there are other things that'll pop up and then they tank, and you never know what to invest your time in. So we only have so much time in the day, and writing is the most important aspect of being a writer.
I tried Twitter, or I guess now X. That was not for me. Not for me. So
it's okay. That for me is kind of, again, that reposting thing. I don't really do anything new or novel on that one. I just let it float. I'm kind of like, takes a second to post and then I move on my day. But yeah.
I did see there was, I don't know which author posted it, but it was another app, and don't ask me the name of it because I have no idea, but she was like, you just upload like one thing into it and it posts it on all your socials for you.
Yeah,
I thought about looking into that because I would.
There are a couple resources that do that, which I have not taken the time or energy to look into that, but I've heard good things. So definitely, if you have a little more time and energy, check those out, because again, that just helps. That really does. But anything that helps. But let me ask, if you could write in a totally different genre than the one you're writing right now, which one would you choose?
I think probably horror, like a horror thriller crossover, probably something like that. I love scary stories.
I like that.
I think if I would probably do that.
I like
and
that.
I might one day.
Hey, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself. You can be as, creative and wild as you can. The difference is, speaking from one who jumps all over the fantasy horde, then you have to potentially rebrand yourself and find new readers, because though you want those super readers that follow you wherever you go, people like what they like. And so if you jump ship and do something very different, from YA to adult, from the very dark, grimdark side to the light and bright isekai portal fantasy, some people like certain things, other people like other things, and it will be from experience. It could be a trick.
Yeah. I was talking to another author the other day about that because she was writing like contemporary romance and then romantasy, and she was like, you can just use a pen name. And I was like, I'm way too vain
Oh yeah.
to be, I can't, I work too hard. If I write a whole, but it's getting my name on it. I don't care. So I'll have to make different social.
Oh yeah, I agree with you because the whole marketing thing, and yes, I understand the theories and why it does make sense, but I do not have an assistant to help me manage all that and have multiple newsletters, and I'm like going, oh my goodness, no. So right now everything is under my name. The only thing that would possibly change that is if I went and did something super spicy, something where I would not actually want someone who's like on the line side to stumble into, that I might have to do a pen name for. Not to say I'm planning to do that, but outside of that, I'm going to use my name. Vanity at its finest.
Agree.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question that I think we kind of almost touched earlier. Which one character best represents you? I know all of them kind of have fragments of you, but is there one that's like, this is more me than the other characters?
I think, I know it's very cliche, but probably the FMC. It's probably her. She's I think who I have to be every day. We'll say that. Probably the closest to who I have to act like every day. She's very mature and responsible.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want to trust anybody. She's just trying to stay alive. And then some of my other characters, they're just having fun with it. And I think I'm not really allowed to do that a lot, but if I could, I would be outwardly doing that.
Well, writing is like an outlet. As I mentioned before, it's like it can allow you to express aspects of yourself that you might not be able to express in the day-to-day. So, have fun with it. And even though you might not say, this is me, but if it lets you, be a little, freer, be a little more comedic, be a little meaner, why not?
Yeah.
So, I didn't ask this. In your debut series, your first book, who is or what is the villain, or do you have a villain?
I do. I have a villain. His name is King Hollis, and that's really all you know about him at the start, because he's so far removed from our peasants, which are just all my characters are just the lowly peasants.
Yeah.
But he becomes more and more interesting as the book goes on, because as you learn more and more about him, it becomes apparent that maybe he's not a complete victim. Like, he's doing some really bad stuff, but maybe he has a reason to. So it starts to get into a real gray area, which I feel like definitely is where my law enforcement shows up into my writing accidentally, for sure.
Well, I think people want, when you're above a certain age, people want villains that, and correct me if I'm wrong, have dimension to them. You don't want them to be, I'm conquering the universe because I'm evil and evil people do that. You want them to have a reason, and a reason that at the very least they believe in, and if not, be a reason that it could almost convince you to believe in, and that's a scary part.
Yeah. That's what I love. I love a complex villain. That's my favorite thing.
What do you think is like your weak point in writing? Do you have you ever identified and been like, okay, because for me, comedy is hard. Comedy is hard. There are certain types of comedy I'm better at, but comedy in general is just hard for me to do. I'm very serious with my characters.
I have a lot of, and this honestly is from real world experience too, like a lot of funny moments and little quips. I have one character in particular who he's just the comedic relief the whole way through. That's my favorite thing. Romance is so hard for me. Fair. It is so difficult. Yeah, I can write, I love battle scenes. I can write blood and gore. I can write the funny stuff in the middle of it, but give me a romance scene and it's going to take me 2 days.
Yeah, I guess romance would also be something that I'm not as proficient than others. I have written romance scenes, but most of my books, there are like, romance is a part of life. So you're going to have couples and you'd have like, new loves or whatever. But that's not the point of my stuff. I am not a romance writer. I am not a romantasy writer. I am definitely more the plot, fast pace, action, twists and turns kind of writer versus romance forward.
Yes. It's so funny too. My best friend is also an author. She's a huge reader and she loves give her all the smut, all the masked men chasing you through the woods. We're gonna have to like ghost write for each other at some
There you
points.
go.
Because I can't. I'll just plug it in.
There you go. Hey, there's one book that I'm working on various edits for, and one of the characters is supposed to be a poet. Cool. I'm not a poet, but one of the main characters is. And I evaded the whole thing about putting poetry in it. And one of my development editor was like, you need to put the poetry in it. And I was like, can I get a ghostwriter? For the poems? It's so hard. That's not how my brain works. I'm supposed to be a very good poet, too. I'm like, people will know. People will know. Roses are red.
Yeah, there's no way I could write poetry if you paid me $1 million. It's not happening.
I love it. Okay, well, since the hour's almost over, let me ask you, as well as everybody that's been kind of listening in, is there any topic you wanted to cover that we didn't get a chance to cover, or any question you wanted to ask that you haven't had a chance to ask yet? Because I want to make sure we cover everything you want, Jessica. And then, of course, for all the listeners in, the same goes for you.
I don't think so. I think I'm great at talking. It's my favorite thing. So I think we've covered just about everything I can think of so far.
Ooh, I see in the comments, we have one that says, when is the second book planned to come out? So that's pointed at you. Do you have a release date, in other words?
I don't have the exact date because we haven't set up the book signing yet. And I really plan those off of the signing. It will be late July, for sure.
That's coming up. It's going to be here before you know it. Ah! Ah! The planner in me is screaming. Ah! That's exciting, though.
Now's the time where my boyfriend's going to be very just loving and caring because I'm going to be such a little dragon in my house until everything's done. Bless his heart.
Well, there are book dragons who collect books, and there are book dragons who write the books who just breathe the fire.
Yeah. It's definitely the week before it comes out is so stressful.
Aw, that's so sweet. We'll make it happen. See, I love support. That is lovely and fantastic. And I love the fact that you have your cheer squad coming in. That always makes me happy to see.
Yep, that's my boyfriend and my boyfriend's boyfriend. I think.
Besties for the resties. I love it. Okay, wait. I had a question and I just lost it. It's going to come back to me. Probably too late. I'm going to think about it. Wait. Where did it go? We were talking, we were laughing, and I lost it. I drew a blank. Anywho. Oh, man. So how long, let me just go from the beginning. How long did it take you from conception of like the idea, that spark, and publishing your first book? Because I know that it took forever, but like how?
Yeah. I think probably from when I started actually putting words down for the book and not just notes and trying to outline, 8 or 9 months.
Hey, that's
and then, which I didn't tell. I almost had the book done before I told even my boyfriend or any of my family that I was even doing it. Because I was like, if I fail, if it sucks, no one's gonna know, and it's gonna be fine.
I mean, I get that. It's such a nerve-wracking thing because you're putting your heart and soul in these characters and stories and the world you're building, that it's, especially early on, very touchy. And even if you're an expert writer who's published 100 books, there's always going to be that nervousness of, well, people would like it.
Yeah. Every day.
I love it. So, okay. Outside, the two signed book signings. I don't know why my ring light keeps changing colors. And you said you've been connecting with people through this platform to find readers. How is your experience of connecting with them versus just seeing people buy and see like the sales? Do you get a chance to talk a lot with your readers in some way, shape, or form, or is it very much, ooh, they see the shiny book and then they buy right away? Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe it does.
Yeah, I definitely do more. TikTok is really good, which I've obviously I've not went live or anything yet. Most of my stuff's faceless, but I will have sometimes they pop in to like the DMs. But on Facebook, I get a lot more of my readers in Messenger that like actually ask questions and talk to me about it, which is really really fun. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with, but it's great, especially like when you were saying before how like right before you or even after you publish, you're like, oh my god, this is just a terrible book and no one's going to tell me I suck. To then somebody like quoting something and be like, this was so great, it made me think a lot. That's probably the most rewarding part of doing this in the first place.
I love when you get those kind of that validation, like whatever form that takes, of someone being like, your book is awesome. You rock. Especially if it's like a stranger that you never physically met or something. They're like, I read your book and it just, blew my mind. Or, I love this character. I would never have guessed this twist that you wrote in. How did you come up with it? So those are all cool things. But
yes, that's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, connecting with people who enjoy your books because you're sharing what you love, your stories. But now that we have reached the end of the hour, which is 8 o'clock, and my dog walking time, because I can start hearing them pitter-patter walking around upstairs. With that said, thank you so much for hanging out and willing to jump on a live with me and show your face and talk.
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun.
I love it. Show your book cover one more time for everybody who has not seen it. Yes. But yeah, thank you so much. And again, if you ever want to do this and come back and reconnect after maybe you publish your second one or wherever, let me know. But I hope you have a lovely day. And thanks for everybody else who's been hanging out with us. Yay.
You too. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Happy reading.